The Legend of Vox Machina Season 2 kicked off with a literal bang, like lots and lots of explosions as our favorite asshole heroes face off against not one but 4 dragons. Rise of the Chroma Conclave, Trials of Vasselheim, and the Sunken Tomb threw the crew of Vox Machina into their most dire adventure yet. I do want to note that I am a relatively new fan of Critical Role. The TV show was my introduction that got me interested in the web series. Since then, I really struggled to get through those earlier live streams of Campaign 1. That is until I found a wonderful YouTuber named Super Geek Mike, who has a really great series he does called Critical Role Demystify, breaking down the essential lessons and the takeaways from Critical Role episodes. He was so incredibly helpful for me to get started into the series that I think that all new fans like me should check out his channel. But as I'm still not that far along in the live streams, I would still call myself a relatively new Critical Role fan who just happens to now know who Tiberius is. There are a couple of reasons why I'm noting this. First of all, this is why I'm looking at the Legends of Vox Machina just as a TV show and not as part of a bigger franchise. When watching Season 1, I never felt like I needed to know about Critical Role lore to go along with the series. This is the second point that I'll get to later in this review because these 3 episodes were the first time where I felt a little bit left out of the Critical Role know-how as a new fan. But I want to start with the good stuff though, because oh my god, the holy cow, this was a hell of a Season 2 opener. As often as Season 1 did slide into some more like darker, sinister moments, Rise of the Chroma Conclave feels like a freaking sledgehammer smashing its way into a darker middle chapter of the series. That episode is so brutal from start to finish in the best way possible. Any sense of hope is lost second by second with each death, sometimes by major characters. Not even our heroes have the plot armor fully strapped onto their body as they take some big hits as well. It is a fantastic setup to this journey, and it starts off showing that this isn't going to be as straightforward as the Briarwood arc. Our characters are going to struggle, and I am so here for that. Neil Acree's score adds just so many layers to the tragedy unfolding. I have a super sneaking suspicion that the Vox Machina Season 2 soundtrack will end up on top of my albums of the year when I do my Spotify wrap in December. All 3 episodes are gorgeously animated, letting Titmouse show off why their company is one of the best in the business. I'm sure there's going to be some back and forth about the CGI of the dragons and the Sphinx. It is very noticeable that they are animated completely differently from everything else. I found it very hauntingly purposeful, adding to the overall effect of these creatures. It made them seem like these otherworldly beings that are different from our everyday heroes. And I dug that. I dug that a lot. And of course, the heart of Vox Machina is the characters, and my lovable assholes are back in full form. One of my minor criticisms of Season 1 was it did feel like a few of the characters got less focused than others. Already, Season 2 feels a bit more balanced, allowing each person to get equal moments to shine in this first entry. I also always love when the teams get mixed and matched together in different groups. One of my favorite moments of the Trials of Vasselheim was Pike and Percy pairing up as diplomats to ask the leaders of Vasselheim for help. Pike is a holy person, and Percy is trained in diplomacy, so they're a very good duo for this task. And I honestly can't remember them sharing any major scenes together in Season 1, so this was really refreshing, and I really enjoyed these moments. And this is just one of many examples of the teams getting mixed and matched together. I also love how these 3 episodes set up all the characters to have their own arc. I was aware of some of the earlier reviews, like from IGN, that noted that every member of Vox Machina will have an episode focused on them this season, which I'm so here for. The relationships of the group are what carried the first season, but I do want to know who they are and see how they grow as individuals too outside the group. I already really love what they're doing with Grog, who is probably the member coming into Season 2 who needed more to do character-wise. I'm really scared for him, though, because he has that mean sword that he got from Silas Briarwood, and it's already messing with his mind, and I'm really scared for Grog, you guys. I don't know what's going to happen to him. I only really had one big criticism of the first 3 episodes that I already alluded to. This was the first time it felt like I was out of the loop as a casual fan. It was the first time where I felt like I needed to know Critical Role lore, that I needed to know the game mechanics. And I mulled over what exactly the issue was, and I couldn't put my finger on just one thing, because it's not just one thing. It was a culmination of multiple moments that kind of added up to a death by 1,000 cuts sort of problem. There is just way too much information crammed into these 3 episodes for a new or a casual fan. And it started with little moments like Allura and Kima fighting back against the dragons of the Chroma Conclave. Both used magic to do so. But at no point in season 1 did they ever allude that these two have any sort of magical abilities. And same thing with Gilmore. The series went from only having a few people established of having the ability to do magic to now suddenly everyone can do magic? I guess I should have assumed so, because the show is based on Dungeons and Dragons. But I've only just started venturing into the world of tabletop gaming, and it's only been with Star Wars 5e. So this shift of characters was something that just wasn't on my radar. And don't get me wrong, I don't want this to sound like a big criticism, because it was awesome watching Kima and Allura fight the dragons and watching Gilmore get all in there too. But it was just one example of many. There is so much information thrown at a new viewer in these first 3 episodes. The thing about the Briarwood arc is that it was more straightforward. There were fewer locations with a clear-cut mission of stopping the baddies and saving Percy's home. Already in season 2, we've been to multiple locations, we've had a lot of names of gods thrown at us, put in some of the main cast backstories with Vex and Vax, we've been given a history lesson about some big event that happened in the past where the season's magical MacGuffins were made, and I literally cannot remember the names of any of this from memory. This is just the beginning, because to top it all off, too, we were introduced to Cashal and Zara, whose names I had to look up, and they had to establish their relationships with Vex and Vex, too. And then there's the lair of the Raven Queen, I guess? The only reason I know that she's called the Raven Queen is because people on Tumblr were like, oh, snap, it's the Raven Queen. And I'm sitting here going, should I know this person already? What happened? Did I miss this? And altogether, it's just one too many things at once. Maybe back in season 1, it would have been better to establish the world that, like, everybody can use magic or magical items. And, like, some of this, like, information, like, a little bit more about the gods and stuff, putting that back in season 1, that would have been helpful. But with it all up front here in season 2, it is a dump of world building that just dragged down the information for me. That said, I'm not going to sit here and put down the amazing feat of taking hundreds of hours worth of content and streamlining it down into 25-minute episodes. It's so impressive that they were able to do this in the first place. But this time around, it felt like I got too much exposition. It was the first time watching the Legends of Vox Machina. I wish I did have a better understanding of Critical Role's game mechanics and the world and the character and the history that they crafted. I felt like I was standing outside of the circle of really understanding all of this. I usually rewatch episodes for fun because I just love the show so much. But this time, I feel like I'm going to have to rewatch the show, at least these first 3 episodes, out of necessity, so I can sort of commit everything to memory. And granted, this is just my opinion. If you're a casual fan like me and you're able to go along with all this just fine, I would love to hear from you in the comments. But regardless, I love The Legends of Vox Machina. I love this show. I love these characters. There's a reason it's one of my favorite shows of last year. Over on the Geeky Waffle, I reviewed my favorite shows of the last year, and Vox Machina was on that list because I adore this series so much. I have desperately missed these people, and I've been looking forward to it. And oh my god, after that cliffhanger of episode 3 and everything around Vex, I need to know what happens next, and I cannot wait to see what the rest of season 2 brings us. And the last thing is, Grog better keep his beard. He's so happy about his beard, and I'm so happy he has a beard, and I hope he keeps it forever because he's precious. What did you think about the Season 2 opener of The Legend of Vox Machina? Please let us know in the comments below, and stay geeky, everybody.